Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a massive government project in Punjab that's taking property records out of dusty old file cabinets and putting them into a secure digital system. This is a huge deal, and it's affecting hundreds of thousands of homeowners. So let's just start with a question for you. How sure are you, really, that the paper deed to your property is safe? I mean, completely safe from being challenged or worse, forged? For generations, that kind of uncertainty was just the reality for property owners in Punjab. The entire system, the whole thing, was built on paper records, which made them super vulnerable to damage, getting lost, or even straight up illegal tampering. On one hand, you had this old paper-based system. It was opaque, hard to get a hold of your own records, and it was dangerously insecure. We're talking things like forged signatures or completely fake deeds. It was a real problem. So this huge weakness created a really clear vision for something new, a digital system that would be transparent, secure, and way more efficient. Okay, so let's get into the solution that was designed to fix these exact problems. It's a project with a super clear mission. It's called CLTR, which stands for Computerization of Land Titles and Record. And really, its job is to drag the entire system of land records for these housing societies out of the paper era and bring it kicking and screaming into the digital age. And when you boil it all down, the project was really built on three simple but incredibly powerful goals. First, give every member easy access. Second, make their property rights way more secure. And third, guarantee transparency in every single land deal. Now, this whole transformation, it didn't just happen overnight. Not at all. It's been this methodical, multi-year journey. It actually started as a development scheme way back in 2014. And it's evolved over time, even adding advanced geospatial technology in 2023, which is just a fancy way of saying they're using super precise digital mapping to make property records even more accurate. Pretty cool. So that's the backstory. But how does all of this actually work in practice? Let's take a look at the technology people are using right now to transfer property. What used to be this complex, manual, and frankly, time-consuming headache is now a really streamlined four-step digital journey. I mean, everything from biometric verification of the buyer and seller to checking on government dues, it's all handled online now. And that makes transactions not just faster, but a whole lot more secure. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. The key here is the multiple layers of security they've built right into the system, and each one is designed to stamp out fraud. We're talking computerized letters with unique QR codes that you just can't fake. There's direct integration with the National Database for Biometric Identity Checks. They even print digital photos of the buyer and seller right on the transfer documents. Every single step is about creating a record that you can actually verify and trust. All right, so we've got all this new tech, all this work, but does it actually work? Is it effective? Well, the data, it tells a pretty clear story. Right now, 102 cooperative housing societies are fully online with this new system. And that's not just a number. That represents a huge chunk of the project already done, and literally thousands of people now using a much safer platform. And if you look inside those societies, the individual records for almost 238,000 members have now been securely scanned, entered, and verified. That is a massive amount of sensitive data that is now protected in the new digital database. And this chart, it gives you a great bird's eye view of the scale and the momentum here. Out of 171 total societies they're targeting, you can see that data scanning and entry are almost done across the board. The more complex stuff, like digitizing the maps and getting the system fully online, is following right behind. But the benefits aren't just for property owners. This new transparency and efficiency have also resulted in over 5.7 billion rupees in government revenue collected in just over a year. Why? Because the digital system makes it way harder to undervalue property or dodge the taxes and fees that often got lost in the old paper shuffle. Okay, so we've looked at the tech, we've seen the numbers, we've talked about the revenue, but what does all of this really mean for the average person? The property owner who's at the center of it all. Well, it really boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful equation. The system gives property owners way more transparency, which in turn delivers a much higher level of security. And that dramatically reduces the chance for fraud. It's that simple. So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's about how CLTR is fundamentally changing the relationship people have with their most valuable asset, their property. It's about securing rights, it's about building trust, and honestly, it's about proving that these huge, complex digital government projects aren't just a fantasy, they're actually achievable. A project like this proves that these complex, vital government services can be modernized effectively. And that leaves us with a final, really important question to think about. Now that we know this is possible, what's next?